The crystal champagne flute shattered in my grip, sending shards across the marble floor of the country club's grand ballroom. 100 faces turned toward me, but I only saw one. Maya's perfectly composed expression of mock concern as she stepped closer, her designer heels crunching over the broken glass. I'm Evie, and this was supposed to be our parents' 35th wedding anniversary celebration. Instead, it became the night I finally understood what my sister was capable of. "Oh, sweetie," Maya's voice carried across the sudden silence. "I know you're upset, but we need to discuss this like adults. Everyone here knows I would never steal your designs." My hands trembled. The lie was so smooth, so practiced, I almost believed it myself. Almost. "You showed them to the board yesterday," I said, my voice barely steady. "My entire portfolio claimed it as your own work." Mother stepped between us, her pearl necklace catching the chandelier light. "Evie, please, not here." "Maya would never—" "Of course I wouldn't," Maya cut in, placing a manicured hand on Mother's shoulder. "Evie's just confused. She's been under so much stress lately." Father appeared at Maya's other side, his presence as imposing as ever in his tailored suit. "That's enough. You're embarrassing yourself, Evie." The familiar weight of their disapproval pressed against my chest. 28 years of being the lesser daughter, the afterthought, the one who needed to try harder, be more like Maya. "Show them your phone," I challenged Maya. "Show them the email you sent to Creative Director Stevens yesterday at 3:42 p.m. Maya's smile flickered for just a fraction of a second. "Don't be ridiculous, I'm not going to." "Because you deleted it." I stepped closer, ignoring the crunch of glass under my feet. Lucky for me, I had Stevens CC'd on the original project files, dated 3 months ago. The colour drained from Maya's face, but she recovered quickly. "Daddy, she's trying to ruin my moment. Again. Just like she always does." "That's not true." Grandpa Tom's voice cut through the tension. He stood from his seat at the family table, his weathered hands gripping his cane. "Let the girl speak." But Mother was already steering me toward the exit, her fingers digging into my arm. "You need some air, dear. Maya's announcement is in 10 minutes, and we can't have you causing a scene." "Announcement?" I pulled away from her grip. "What announcement?" Maya's smile returned, triumphant. "The promotion, of course. Creative Director Stevens is retiring next month. The board voted yesterday. I'm taking his position." The position I'd been working toward for 3 years. The one Maya had sworn she had no interest in, right before she stole my entire portfolio. "You can't—" I started, but Father's hand clamped down on my shoulder. "Enough," he growled. "Outside. Now." Jake appeared beside me, my best friend's presence a sudden anchor in the chaos. "I'll take her," he offered, gently guiding me away from Father's grip. As we reached the terrace doors, I heard Maya's voice rise behind us. "I just hope someday she can be happy for me. It's so hard watching her struggle like this." The cool night air hit my face, but it did nothing to calm the rage building inside me. Jake stayed silent, waiting. "She's going to get away with it," I whispered. "Again. She always does." "Not this time," Jake said quietly. "I saved copies of everything. The original files, the timestamps, the emails. We have proof." I turned to look at him, really look at him, and saw something in his eyes I'd never noticed before. A hardness, a determination that matched the fury in my own heart. "What are you saying?" He pulled out his phone, showing me a screen full of documented evidence. "I'm saying, maybe it's time your sister learned what it feels like to lose everything she stole." Through the terrace doors, I could hear applause erupting in the ballroom. Maya's moment of triumph. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel powerless. I took Jake's phone, scrolling through the evidence of my sister's betrayal. "Show me everything." 3 days after the anniversary disaster, I sat across from Maya at our mandatory Sunday family dinner, watching her expertly twist the narrative of my emotional breakdown at the country club. "I just wish you'd talk to me first, sweetie," she said, reaching for the bread basket. We could have avoided all that unnecessary drama. Mother nodded sympathetically, passing Maya the butter. The poor creative director was so concerned. He called me personally to check on you, Evie. Of course he did. Maya probably orchestrated that call herself. How thoughtful of him, I said, stabbing at my untouched roast. Did he mention the portfolio review? Maya's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Oh, that reminds me. Sophie's joining the creative team next week. Isn't that wonderful? I felt the blood drain from my face. Sophie, Maya's best friend since college, would now have direct access to all my upcoming projects. Congratulations, I managed, though the word tasted like ash. Father cleared his throat. Maya's making excellent changes already. The board is impressed with her vision. My vision? I muttered, but only Grandpa Tom seemed to hear. He caught my eye from the end of the table, his weathered face unreadable. Speaking of vision, Maya continued, Mother, I'll need your help planning the department restructure announcement party next Saturday. But that's, I started. Perfect timing, Mother beamed. The garden will be lovely. That's the day of my presentation to the Miller account, I said louder. The biggest client I'd landed independently before Maya's promotion. Maya's smile didn't waver. Oh, didn't Stevens tell you? I'll be handling the Miller account personally now. We can't risk losing them, they're too important. The room spun slightly. 3 months of work, gone with a casual sentence over Sunday roast. You can't just... Actually, I can. Maya's voice hardened slightly. I'm creative director now, remember? Thanks to your outburst at the anniversary, I had to move quickly to reassure several clients about the department's stability. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Got something. Meet me after dinner. Important. Evie. Father's stern voice cut through my thoughts. Your sister is trying to protect you. Show some gratitude. I gripped my napkin under the table, feeling the fabric twist in my fingers. Thank you, Maya. For everything. Her smile widened. That's better. Now, about the party. I was thinking we should invite the entire board. Really make it special. As Mother and Maya launched into party planning, Grandpa Tom caught my attention again. He gestured subtly toward his coat hanging in the foyer, then excused himself from the table. I waited 2 minutes before following. Need some air, I mumbled, ignoring Mother's disapproving frown. In the foyer, I found a folded note in Grandpa Tom's coat pocket. Check the family trust documents, page 47. Everything all right? Maya's voice made me jump. She stood in the dining room doorway, head tilted in false concern. Fine, I said, shoving the note into my pocket. Just getting some water. You know I only want what's best for you, right? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. But these outbursts, these accusations, they need to stop for everyone's sake. The threat in her words was clear as crystal. Of course, I smiled, matching her tone. We wouldn't want any more drama. Good girl. She patted my cheek the way you might praise a dog. Oh, and I'll need your office cleared by Tuesday. Sophie will need the space. I watched her glide back to the dining room, where our parents waited with their endless supply of praise and approval. My phone buzzed again. Jake, sending an address. Going to Jake's, I called out, already heading for the door. Work emergency. On a Sunday, Mother protested, but I was already gone. In my car, I pulled out Grandpa Tom's note again. Whatever was on page 47 of the family trust, combined with whatever Jake had found. Maybe this was the crack in Maya's perfect facade I'd been waiting for. I started the engine, a plan already forming. Maya wanted to play creative director? Fine, but first, she'd learn what it felt like to have everything she valued stripped away, piece by carefully orchestrated piece, starting with that party next Saturday. Jake's apartment was a mess of papers and takeout containers when I arrived. He barely looked up from his laptop, gesturing to a manila folder on his coffee table. Page 47 of the trust documents, he said. Matches perfectly with what I found in the company records. I opened the folder, scanning the highlighted sections. The numbers swam before my eyes until they suddenly snapped into focus. This can't be right. Oh, it's right. Jake finally looked up. Maya's been embezzling from both the family trust and the company for years. She's been funding her rise to the top with stolen money. My hands shook as I flipped through the evidence. Wire transfers, doctored reports, falsified signatures, all leading back to Maya's private accounts. Does Grandpa Tom know? He suspected. Jake pulled up another document on his screen. That's why he asked me to dig deeper. But here's the real kicker. Look who else's signature is on these transfers. I leaned in, my breath catching. Mother? The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Jake checked his security camera feed and swore. It's Sophie. Maya's Sophie. I scrambled to gather the papers. Hide, Jake hissed, shoving me toward his bedroom. She's been asking questions about the anniversary party incident. From behind Jake's bedroom door, I heard Sophie's voice, sharp with accusation. I know Evie's here. Her car's outside. She left her car here earlier. We carpooled to a client meeting. On a Sunday? Some of us still have to work weekends, Sophie. A pause. Maya's worried about her. She's not stable right now. I bit back a laugh. Of course Maya would play that angle. Tell Maya I'll keep an eye on her sister, Jake said smoothly. Professional courtesy. Speaking of professional, Sophie's voice hardened. Those financial reports you requested last week? Maya wants to know why. My heart stopped. Jake hadn't mentioned requesting reports. Standard audit procedure, he replied. New creative director means new oversight. Funny, because I checked with accounting. There is no audit. The silence stretched dangerous and thin. Jake, Sophie said quietly, whatever you and Evie are planning, stop. Maya's not someone you want as an enemy. Is that a threat? A warning, from a friend. After Sophie left, I emerged from the bedroom to find Jake staring at his laptop, his face pale. They're on to us, I said. No. He turned the screen toward me. They're 3 steps ahead. Look what just got sent to the entire company. An email from Maya's official creative director account announced a complete restructuring of the creative department. My name was conspicuously absent from the new organizational chart. She's firing me? Worse. Jake scrolled down. She's citing ethical concerns about your recent work. She's destroying your reputation before you can expose her. My phone buzzed. A text from Mother. Maya told us everything. How could you falsify those reports? We raised you better than this. Another buzz. Father. My office. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. The room tilted sideways. Maya wasn't just protecting herself. She was systematically dismantling my life. There's more, Jake said quietly. The Miller account? Maya told them you've been leaking confidential information to their competitors. I grabbed the trust documents, my hands steady now with cold fury. She wants to play dirty? Fine, but I'm done being the good little sister who takes the blame. Evie? No. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to Grandpa Tom's number. Maya thinks she's won because she's got Mother involved. Wait until she learns about page 47. What are you going to do? I thought about Maya's smug smile at dinner, about years of calculated manipulation, about the way she'd patted my cheek like a pet. I'm going to that restructuring announcement party, I said, and I'm bringing evidence that will make her promotion party turn into her retirement party. Jake's expression darkened with understanding. This could tear your family apart. Maya already did that, I said, dialing Grandpa Tom's number. I'm just going to make sure everyone finally sees it. The phone rang once before Grandpa Tom answered. I was wondering when you'd call, he said. Are you ready to hear what really happened to your father's first company? Grandpa Tom's study smelled of leather and old papers, a sanctuary unchanged since my childhood. He sat in his worn armchair, holding a faded photograph I'd never seen before. Your father's first company wasn't just successful, he said, passing me the photo. It was revolutionary. The image showed a younger version of my father, standing proudly in front of Harrison Innovations with a team of smiling employees. A date was scrawled on the back, 1992. What happened to it? The same thing that always happens, Grandpa Tom's fingers drummed against his chair. Maya discovered something she could use. A knock at the study door made us both start. Maya stood in the doorway, her perfect smile firmly in place. "Family meeting," she announced. "Mother insists." Grandpa Tom's hand tightened on his cane. "We're not finished here." "Oh, I think you are." Maya's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. "Unless you want me to tell Father about those interesting transfers from last month." The colour drained from Grandpa Tom's face. In the living room, Mother and Father waited like judges at a tribunal. Sophie sat in the corner, pointedly avoiding my gaze. "Sit," Father commanded. I remained standing. "If this is about the Miller account, this is about everything," Maya cut in, producing a folder. "Your suspicious meetings with Jake, your attempts to access confidential files, and, most importantly, your disturbing obsession with undermining my position." "That's rich coming from you." "Evie," Mother's voice cracked, "we found the forged documents on your laptop." My heart stopped. "What?" "It did a thorough scan," Maya explained, almost sympathetically. "They found everything. The fake transfers, the doctored trust documents, all traced back to your personal computer." "That's impossible." I turned to Father. "Check Maya's accounts. She's been—" "Already did," he interrupted. "They're clean, unlike yours." The realization hit like a physical blow. Maya hadn't just framed me, she'd completely rewritten the narrative. "Grandpa Tom knows the truth," I said desperately. "Tell them about Father's first company." Maya laughed softly. "Oh, that old story? About how Father's partner betrayed him? Tragic, really. Almost as tragic as history repeating itself." Grandpa Tom stayed silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. "You have two options," Father said. "Resign quietly, citing personal reasons, or face legal consequences for corporate espionage." "You'd believe her over me? After everything?" "Maya has proof," Mother whispered. "What do you have?" "Jake." I still had Jake and the original documents. I reached for my phone, but Maya smiled. "Looking for these?" She held up a stack of papers, the evidence from Jake's apartment. "Sophie was kind enough to retrieve them while you were hiding in Jake's bedroom yesterday." Sophie finally met my eyes, her expression a mix of guilt and determination. "Why?" I asked her. "Because Maya protects her own," Sophie replied. "You should have learned that by now." A text lit up my phone. Jake's name, followed by two words that made my blood run cold. "They fired me." The room spun as every piece of Maya's plan clicked into place. She hadn't just outmaneuvered me. She'd systematically destroyed every possible avenue of resistance. "The party's still on for Saturday," Maya said brightly. "You're welcome to attend, of course. Show there are no hard feelings." I looked at each face in the room. Mother's pained avoidance, Father's stern disappointment, Sophie's calculated loyalty, and Maya's triumphant smile. Only Grandpa Tom looked back, something like recognition flickering in his eyes. "You want to know what really happened to Father's first company?" He finally spoke, his voice steady. "Ask Maya about the Harrison family files from 1992. Maya's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second, but I saw it. For the first time, real fear crossed her face. "That's enough, Father," she said quickly. "You're confused." But I wasn't listening anymore. I was remembering the date on that old photograph and the way Maya had rushed to silence Grandpa Tom. I walked out without another word, Maya's voice calling after me with false concern. But I had what I needed, a crack in her perfect facade and a new direction to dig. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about exposing the present. It's about unearthing the past. The county records office smelled like dust and forgotten promises. I'd been here for hours, digging through files from 1992 when the clerk finally emerged from the back room. "Found something interesting," she said, dropping a thick folder on the desk. "Harrison Innovations bankruptcy filing. Sealed by court order, but—" She glanced at Grandpa Tom's notarized permission letter. "Family has rights." Inside, beneath layers of legal jargon, I found what Maya had tried to hide. Father's signature on transfer documents, dated 1 week before the company collapsed. But below his, another signature caught my eye. My mother's maiden name. My phone buzzed. Jake. Maya's looking for the Harrison files. She's turning the office upside down. I snapped photos quickly, my hands shaking. Another text lit up. Sophie's helping her search Grandpa Tom's study. They're getting desperate. The clerk cleared her throat. There's someone here asking about these same records. Through the glass partition, I saw Sophie entering the records office, her heels clicking against the linoleum. Back entrance, I whispered. The clerk nodded toward a service door. I slipped out just as Sophie's voice carried across the room. I need all files relating to Harrison Innovations, 1992. Rain pelted my face as I ran to my car. Inside, another message waited. From Grandpa Tom. Don't trust the obvious story. Check your mother's old office at the house. Tonight. Mother's office had been locked for years. A shrine to her creative phase before Maya was born. I'd always assumed she'd given up her career for family. Now I wondered what else she'd given up. The house was dark when I arrived, but a light burned in Maya's home office next door. Through her window, I saw her pacing, phone pressed to her ear. The spare key to Mother's office was still hidden behind the loose brick in the garden wall. Inside, everything remained frozen in time. Half-finished paintings, dusty photography equipment, and a locked filing cabinet that had never seemed important until now. It won't open without this. I spun around. Mother stood in the doorway, holding an old key. You knew I'd come. Maya called, said you were digging up painful history. She stepped inside, running her fingers along her old desk. She's trying to protect us, you know. From what? The truth. She handed me the key. Sometimes lies keep families together. Like the lie about Harrison Innovations. Her hand trembled slightly. Maya said you might ask about that. I'm not asking Maya, I'm asking you. Mother's carefully maintained composure cracked. Your father wasn't the only one who lost everything when the company fell. I had investments. In your maiden name. Maya found out last year. She's been helping me hide it from your father. If he knew I'd been secretly investing against his wishes. The pieces clicked together. She's been blackmailing you. Protecting me, Mother corrected sharply, like she's protecting you now. From what? From making the same mistake I did, thinking you could compete in a man's world without… She gestured vaguely. Compromises. I unlocked the filing cabinet. Inside, beneath decades of dust, lay a single folder labelled Harrison, Final Settlement. Don't, Mother whispered. But I was already reading. The truth hit like a physical blow. Mother hadn't just invested in Father's company. She'd helped Maya orchestrate its collapse, transferring assets before the bankruptcy. A practice run for everything Maya would perfect years later. You taught her how to do this. I taught her how to survive. Mother's voice hardened. Something you never wanted to learn. My phone buzzed again. Jake. Maya's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. She's going to announce a complete company restructure. The party's Saturday, Mother said, reading my expression. Whatever you're planning, don't. Maya's only trying to… Protect me? Like you protected Father? She flinched. Sometimes protection means making hard choices. I took the Harrison files and walked past her. At the door, I paused. Does Maya protect you because she loves you or because you taught her how useful secrets can be? Mother's silence was answer enough. Outside, Maya's office light still burned. Our eyes met through the window and she raised her wine glass in a mock toast. She thought she had everyone under control, Mother's guilt, Father's ignorance, my apparent defeat. But she'd forgotten one thing. Grandpa Tom hadn't just witnessed the Harrison Innovations collapse, he'd documented everything. And the party was still 3 days away. Grandpa Tom's study was empty when I arrived. On his desk, a single envelope waited, for Evie, in case I can't be there. My hands shook as I read his letter. Inside were photos, documents, and a detailed account of Harrison Innovations' collapse. Everything I needed to destroy Maya at tomorrow's party. But Grandpa Tom was gone. He had a stroke this morning. Maya's voice came from the doorway. Mother's with him at the hospital. I turned slowly, clutching the envelope. You did this. Did what? Cause a stroke? She stepped inside, closing the door. Not everything is about you, Evie. The timing is convenient. He asked for you, she said quietly, but you were too busy digging through old files to answer your phone. The guilt hit like a physical blow. I'd missed 6 calls while at the records office. I know about Mother's involvement in Harrison Innovations, I said, watching her face. And yours. Do you? Maya settled into Grandpa Tom's chair. Or do you know what he wanted you to know? What's that supposed to mean? Did he tell you why Mother really invested against Father's company? Or why I helped her hide it? She opened his desk drawer, pulling out another file. Did he show you these? Letters. Dozens of them, in Mother's handwriting. To lawyers, to accountants, to business partners, all begging for help. All describing Father's gambling problem, his mounting debts, his increasingly risky business decisions. Mother didn't betray Father, Maya said softly. She saved him. The controlled bankruptcy protected what little we had left. Everything I learned about corporate manipulation, I learned trying to keep this family from falling apart. You expect me to believe you're the hero of this story? I expect you to grow up. She stood suddenly angry. While you were nursing your precious grievances, I was making sure we still had a home, a future, a family name worth having. By stealing my work, destroying my career, by keeping you away from the board until I could clean up Father's mess. She slammed her hand on the desk. The Miller account, they're laundering money. The creative director position, it's under federal investigation. I took the fall for all of it to keep you clean. I stared at her, trying to find the lie in her words. Why wouldn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? She laughed bitterly. You've spent your whole life casting me as the villain. It was easier to let you hate me than watch you destroy yourself trying to prove something. My phone buzzed. Jake. Found proof of Maya's embezzlement, ready to expose everything tomorrow. Maya saw the message. Go ahead. Use whatever evidence you think you have, but remember, you won't just be destroying me. Mother's name is on those documents too. And Father. He's still making the same mistakes. The only difference is, now I'm there to catch them. I don't believe you. Then check my office. The real files are in the wall safe. Code is your birthday. She walked to the door. Because contrary to what you've always thought, I never forgot about you. I just had to choose between being a good sister and being a good protector. She left me standing there, surrounded by 3 decades of family secrets. My phone buzzed again. The hospital. Grandpa Tom was asking for me. But I couldn't move. Every certainty I'd built my revenge on was crumbling. If Maya was telling the truth, exposing her tomorrow wouldn't just be revenge, it would be patricide. If she was lying, letting her win meant watching her consolidate power over every aspect of our lives. I looked down at the envelope in my hands, then at Mother's desperate letters on the desk. Tomorrow the party would gather every power player in the company and family. One way or another, all these secrets would come to light. The question was, which truth would I choose to tell? My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Sophie. Maya's not the enemy you think she is, but she might be the one you need. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. The storm that had been building all week was finally breaking. Tomorrow, one way or another, our family would break with it. I just had to decide which pieces I was willing to shatter. The party buzzed with artificial cheer as I watched Maya work the room. She'd chosen the garden venue perfectly. Strings of lights casting everyone in a flattering glow, champagne flowing freely, success practically radiating from every carefully orchestrated detail. Jake appeared at my elbow, USB drive in hand, last chance to back out. Before I could respond, Father clinked his glass for attention. Maya moved to the small stage, radiant in her designer dress, while Mother beamed from the front row. Before I announce the company's new direction, Maya began, I want to thank someone special. My finger hovered over the laptop's enter key. One press would send everything, the Harrison documents, the laundered money evidence, mother's letters, to every board member's inbox. My sister, Evie. The crowd turned toward me. Maya's smile didn't waver. Without her creative contributions, none of this would be possible. Scattered laughter. They thought it was a joke, the failed sister finally acknowledging her place in Maya's shadow. Would you join me up here? Not a request, a challenge. I walked to the stage, each step feeling like a choice between two different futures. The USB drive weighed heavy in my pocket. I've been unfair to you, Maya said, her microphone making the words public property. We both know what's in those files you found. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Father's expression darkened. So let's be honest, she continued, about everything. She turned to face the audience. Harrison Innovations didn't fail because of bad luck. It failed because our father made choices that would have destroyed this family. Father stood abruptly. Maya, Mother saved us. Maya's voice cracked slightly. And I've spent my entire career doing the same thing. Every manipulation, every seeming betrayal. It was all to protect this family. To protect you. She turned to me. Even from yourself. By stealing my work? The words escaped before I could stop them. By keeping you away from the federal investigation that's about to hit this company. She pulled out her own USB drive. Everything's here. The money laundering, the fraud, the cover-ups. All tied to the board members who are about to be arrested. Gasps erupted. Board members began standing, moving toward exits. You're bluffing, one called out. Maya smiled. The FBI agents by the gates would disagree. As if on cue, lights and sirens filled the garden. Maya grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. Choose right now, she whispered. Help me save this family one last time, or watch it burn. I pulled out my USB drive, all my carefully gathered evidence of Maya's betrayals. But mixed with the proof of her deceptions were Mother's desperate attempts to save us, Father's hidden failures, and our family's decades of carefully constructed lies. You knew, I said. You knew I'd find everything. I knew you'd either destroy us or finally understand. Her grip tightened. Choose, Evie, now. The FBI agents were entering the garden. Father looked trapped, Mother terrified. All my life, I'd wanted to expose Maya's manipulations. But standing here, I finally saw the whole picture. I handed her my USB drive. Maya's shoulders sagged with relief. She turned back to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, as new creative director, my first act is to announce our company's full cooperation with the federal investigation into certain board members' activities. My sister Evie has been instrumental in uncovering this corruption. The next hour passed in a blur of arrests, statements, and carefully worded press releases. Maya had orchestrated everything, using my investigation to support her own, letting me play detective while she played chess master. As the garden emptied, she found me by the fountain. I still hate you a little, I said. Good. She sat beside me. Hate keeps you sharp, but maybe now you can hate me for the right reasons. Was any of it real? Or was I just another piece in your game? Both. She handed me an envelope. Grandpa Tom wanted you to have this. He's not just recovering from a stroke. He's been helping me gather evidence for months. Said it was time you knew the whole story. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single photo. Maya at 16, standing in Father's office late at night, discovering the documents that would start her down this path. She looked exactly like me. Welcome to the family business, Maya said softly. The real one. The hospital corridor stretched endless and white as I approached Grandpa Tom's room. Maya sat outside, her perfect posture finally crumbling. Father's been arrested, she said without looking up. Mother's with the lawyers. I sat beside her, the space between us, heavy with unspoken words. Did you know, I asked, about Grandpa Tom's plan? I knew he was gathering evidence. Didn't know he was playing both sides. She laughed softly. Guess manipulation runs in the family. Through the window, I could see Grandpa Tom sleeping, monitors beeping steadily. On his bedside table lay a familiar leather journal, the one he'd always carried but never let anyone read. "He wants you to have it," Maya said. Called it his insurance policy. Inside the room, I opened the journal. Decades of observations, carefully documented manipulations, secret power plays, a masterclass in family politics. But it was the last entry that made my hands shake. Maya protects the family's future. Evie protects its soul. They'll hate me for orchestrating this confrontation, but they needed to see each other clearly. The company will survive. The question is, will they? "He played us both," I said, looking up at Maya. "He taught us both," she corrected, taking the journal. "The difference is, I learned to play the game. You learned to see through it. And now the board's in prison, father's facing charges, and mother's reputation is shattered." She closed the journal. "Everything I built, everything I protected, gone." "Not everything." She looked at me sharply. "The Miller account," I said. "It's clean now, and the creative director position. Someone needs to rebuild the department's reputation. You're offering to help? After everything?" "I'm offering to see clearly. Isn't that what Grandpa Tom wanted?" A nurse entered, checking monitors. In his sleep, Grandpa Tom smiled slightly. "He's stable," the nurse said. "But there's something you should know. He left specific instructions about the company's succession." She handed Maya an envelope. Inside was a single document, joint leadership of the restructured company, both our names listed as equal partners. "Impossible," Maya whispered. "The board would never." "The board's gone," I reminded her. "We get to make new rules." "Partners?" She tested the word like a foreign language. "Enemies keep you sharp," I echoed her words from the garden, "but partners keep you honest." Grandpa Tom stirred, his eyes opening. He looked at us, really looked at us, perhaps for the first time seeing not the roles we'd played, but the women we'd become. "The journal," he said hoarsely. "Did you read the last page?" Maya turned to the final entry. A photograph fell out. Mother and father at our ages, caught in the same dance of power and protection we'd been performing all these years. "History doesn't repeat," Grandpa Tom said. "It evolves. The question is, will you?" I looked at Maya, seeing not the perfect sister or the manipulative antagonist, but something more complex, a mirror of my own capacity for both protection and destruction. "I still don't trust you," I told her. "Good." She stood, straightening her suit. "Trust is overrated. Understanding is better." "And what do you understand now?" "That revenge and protection aren't so different." She held out her hand. "They're both about power. The only difference is how you use it." I took her hand, feeling the weight of Grandpa Tom's journal between us. In its pages lay a roadmap of our family's sins and salvations, a testament to the fine line between guarding and destroying what we love. "Partners," I agreed. Grandpa Tom closed his eyes, his mission accomplished. He'd taught us both our lessons. Maya, that control without connection was empty. Me, that revenge without understanding was blind. The company would survive. The family would transform. And Maya and I would continue our dance, no longer as villain and victim, but as guardians of a complicated truth. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones trying hardest to protect us, just not always in ways we can see.